Hello everyone, this is Plankera, and welcome to my universe. Today, I'm going to continue rigging Shalom from Paths to Nowhere. Last time, I was working on the shadows on, like, her cheeks and stuff. I think they're looking pretty good. I just want to consult the mesh just a little bit to touch up some areas that I felt were moving a little bit strangely. And indeed, I can see the couple of places that I thought were a little bit strange already. So I knew roughly where those areas were, so hopefully I can go in and just kinda clean certain things up and get them to be the way that I want them to be. There we go. I don't mind if it's not a one-to-one perfect match or anything, that's not really important. I just noticed a couple of areas that, I don't know, were not as smooth as they could be. Granted, a couple of those areas was because there was some dirt on my monitor. Really need to clean my monitor a little bit. It's not that dirty, but there's enough things that I should probably take a look at that just so I don't confuse dirt for things that I do not... things going wrong in the model, I suppose. So I'm gonna start there, and then after that, it's back to hair. But things are coming together. The head turns are almost done. I'm not even gonna try to put a time frame on things because I have been so off in nearly all of my predictions that I don't even want to try anymore. So it'll be done when it's done, but hopefully that time will be soon. That is my hope. Alright, you can see that there's still a lot of movement in the vertices, but I don't necessarily feel the need to fix it. Like, over here, I think this is actually alright. Just because of the way the head is turning, I think this is fine. So I'm not going to worry about that. This was just some areas that I felt like were being pulled a little bit too hard. Alright, and indeed, I am seeing the parts that were bothering me a little bit kind of clear up here. But I do think that there actually still are a couple of areas that I want to fix over on the right side, mostly around the nose. So let's see about that. I'm trying to match up the location of some of these things a little bit better. Try to get things to be stretched a little bit more consistently across the board, and get that area around her cheeks looking nice and smooth. Should be fine. And some of these I'm not quite sure about, but I don't see anything overtly terrible there. Okay, let's see here. I probably want to pull these ones a little further over here, and these ones a little further over here. And then all should be well, in theory. Yeah, seems alright. At some point I'll want to work on her eyes and eye sockets a little bit more, but I think this is good for now, because I definitely want the hair to be on while I work on her eye sockets, since it covers up so much of them. Like, I think the reason I never worried about it was because most of the areas that looked wrong are just covered up by the front bang completely. So I may not need to do that much. Now I'm gonna stare at the front bang for a little bit, because the reason that I hit it in the first place was because there was an area where the length was a little bit off. And it was throwing off my noses. So I want to double check all of this, make sure that the shape is the way that I want it to be everywhere. More or less. Had to think about that one for a second. So I should be able to pretty evenly slide her head back and forth and still have everything look correct. And indeed, I think this must be the angle that was off, because I see some things. Okay. Well, let's fix those things. At this point, I really do feel like I'm just at the point of just really polishing up these angles and making them super perfect. But perfection takes time. Oh yeah, and then this thing, because I moved some stuff around. Okay, I should get that too. I think I'm actually going to get that before I finish up with the bangs here. That's this guy. Let's just casually slide that back over there. And then it got a little bit crunchy in the process. I assume it's just because of how the mesh group is moving it. I was actually talking a little bit about this with my husband this morning, about why I feel like this one is taking me longer than even rigging the model I made for myself did. And I think the big thing is that I am only doing this live. I only work on it when I am live. And occasionally I'll look at it off stream, but that's just moving things around and looking up things that I think will help me once I do go live again and can actually touch things. But, when I was working on my personal model, a lot of the progress that I made was just having 5 minutes to set up my computer and move things around a little bit. And I cannot do that at all here, since I want to do it all live. And so I think that is definitely contributing to how long it's taking. Because a lot of my process when I was rigging my initial model really was just try things for a little bit, then look away and do something else. Typically because my kids would want attention. And that actually worked quite well, because I'd be getting a fresh perspective, you know, every few minutes. And that was pretty nice. Very effective for this kind of thing, I think, and sitting down and staring at the same image for a long period of time is actually kind of hard. You start losing perspective, or at least I do. And everything starts looking, if not right, then, how would I describe this? Have you ever been drawing something and you just get used to how it looks, and so it doesn't look wrong anymore? The same thing kind of happens with rigging. And then all of a sudden you step away for a bit, come back a day later, and you're just like, wait, why did I think that looked right? Like, the face isn't even symmetrical. Or something like that. This eye is way too high. And stuff like that happens with rigging too. So being able to look away for a bit or sleep on things for a little while was actually very useful to me. And then I think the other part of it is just, this one is legitimately more complicated than my personal model. I mean, just look at the hair difference. I love my model's hair, I really do. But it's very, very simple. And I actually deliberately animated parts of it. So, like, if you look very closely, my hair moves, even when I don't. It's just there, shimmering, being pretty. And that meant I had to be considerably less precise with how I rigged the hair. On top of it being very, very simple. But this, though, this hair, super complicated. I gotta get it right. The face, way more complicated. I kept my face pretty simple, and that was another thing. With the freckles on my face, probably the most detailed part. I deliberately made it so they bounce around. So once again, I did not have to be very precise in the rigging. So I do think that there is just legitimately more complexity in this one. But at the same time, losing a lot of that time was hard. I enjoy kind of just reflecting on things like this. And kind of give me ideas for where to go in the future. But I have learned a lot from this model, so I think that the next one I rig will just not take as long. I think I am more prepared for it. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. Okay, now I can go back to the bangs that I was slightly distracted on. Okay, I think they're looking better. I think I got the parts that were off there. Let me check the top. Can I do this on the top? Not quite, because once again, this area right up there, a little bit too high. Oh, it feels good to just be able to slide her head back and forth. So much easier to spot mistakes there. And it is just having to do it from the middle over to the side. Man, I look forward to testing this model. It's gonna be a good time. Been working hard to get it... I don't know. Just... getting everything into the right place and really making it look like things are moving. Rather than keeping things loose. Alright, that seems good. And while I'm just touching up front bangs, I assume that I just had not finished this angle yet. Or the hair in this angle, at least. I'm gonna go ahead and just touch things up here and get them a little bit smoother. It's like we're here working on the front bangs, might as well just get everything nice everywhere. So I think today is going to be another day of lots of the head going just back and forth very slowly, repeatedly. That is the nature of rigging touch-ups. Man, it really does. It really does just feel great to be able to swing her head back and forth like that. Super, super nice. I love it so much. I think for future rigs, getting it to where I can just do that is actually going to be, like, top priority. Because I think at that point, that's when I can find a lot of mistakes. And everything just becomes a lot easier. So just get the basics down enough that I can swing her head back and forth. And everything should come just a little bit easier. Definitely gotta keep that in mind. That said, I don't think it's a good idea to go into corners immediately. Just due to the nature of how things work here, it's really nice to get the averages between the 4 cardinal directions there. And have a nice base to work from. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever do what I did at the start of this one, where I work really, really hard to get one angle basically done. It's like, nah. Get them all going at about the same time. And then go in and do the details after. Because I found that even when I'm able to swing her head back and forth like this, that the little details that make things look a little bit more three-dimensional are actually much, much easier to find. And they're much easier to see, too, to see if I've done it right. So I do think that was a very important thing to learn here. So, man, I cannot describe how nice it is to be able to do that. The words fail me. Language is insufficient to describe so many human experiences, and yet it's the only thing we have, and it's so unfortunate. I have to describe everything in my brain and in my heart with just something like words. Makes me glad that we're in the modern era where we can just make up words and people understand. Or when people make typos and it gives the word an entirely new meaning. I've been enjoying the meme within the Infinity Nikki fandom of Ganges. Just do that one typo that just happened to get really popular somehow. I always feel bad for the person that made the typo, but I appreciate you, typo person. It's a wonderful little typo that's just giving entirely new meaning to the word. Another thing that I'm trying while I focus a lot on the upper right angle here is just not necessarily going strand by strand like I was before, but just going back and forth and picking out whichever area happens to be bothering me the most at the time. As always, I'm putting a little bit more effort into the area kind of front and center. But it's okay. I'll get to everywhere eventually. Man, I didn't actually notice this immediately, but right here got super wrinkly, didn't it? It's okay, that's why I always look carefully at a lot of the details, because sometimes small things like that can kind of slip my notice. And even though my focus today is on the upper right, if I see something wrong in the other angles, I'm gonna go ahead and go fix it immediately. In fact, I'm gonna consider fixing anything that I notice in the other angles more important than looking at the upper right. Just because in my brain, those other angles are done. And if I don't fix it immediately, the fact that it is done in my brain might mean that I miss it in the future. So if I see anything even slightly off, I just want to go in and fix it immediately. Drop whatever it is that I'm doing. So this tells me that I will have to pay extra attention to the lower left once I'm done with this. Because I will probably not be looking at it quite as much. It is on the exact opposite end, and if I'm checking things over here, that means I have virtually no reason to look at it at all. So I get the feeling that if anything is going to have lots of errors, after I finish what I want to do in the upper right, it's going to be there. Because I gotta say, the amount of thinking that goes into figuring out what just these little strands of hair should look like. Before rigging, I never thought it would be this hard. But, yeah, you really have to think very three-dimensionally. And when something's not moving quite right, I have to really think about where I want these things to be and what about it looks wrong and just all these other things. So for this one specifically, this one's kind of interesting actually. The strand coming up in front of her bangs there. Because, like, from the left, it's really easy. You know, you just make it floof out, and look at that. It's so floofy and so nice. But over here, I kind of have to restrain its floofiness and make it straighter. And then down here, I want to make it so it looks like you see a little bit more of the top of it. And up here, I want to make it look like you see a little bit more of the bottom of it. But the texture has not changed at all. Like, it's all still exactly the same. And that's kind of what leads it to be somewhat interesting, because even though it's like that, I still feel like there's a bit of that illusion there. Just due to the way I'm making it curve and the angles that it curves at. So I just found that rather interesting. So on the bottom turn, I'm giving it a much steeper drop, whereas on the upward turn, I'm making it look a little bit more like it's floating. It's just pointed a little bit more upward. I think it's kind of neat how such a slight angle difference can make such a big difference. So you can see here that the angle here is nice and wide, whereas what I have down here, it's much sharper. It goes up and then down, like immediately. In fact, I might even make it just a little bit sharper. So I think that kind of gives the impression that you're seeing the top of it, and that the bottom part is a little bit more hidden. So much of art is just super arbitrary. It requires some trial and error to really figure it out. Reminds me of a GDC lecture that I watched a long time ago of a group of game developers talking about how to remake Breakout. Just to really show how much a lot of this tiny, arbitrary stuff can make a game more fun without even really affecting the mechanics. So, for those of you not familiar with, like, super old arcade games, Breakout is that game where you have a little paddle at the bottom and some bricks at the top that you need to direct a ball to go hit the bricks and stop it from falling into the hole behind the paddle. And you win when you break all the bricks, or depending on the game, it might just spawn more bricks where the ball moves faster, or you have to hit it multiple times, and that kind of thing. And so they just did a bunch of stuff to try to make this very simple game of Breakout seem more fun. And they very much succeeded. And so much of it was just tiny little details, super arbitrary little things that I think non-game developers wouldn't even think about. I can't remember the order that they did things in, but I think one of the first things that they did was, if there wasn't already a score counter, I know that they added it, and then it was small things like adding music, sound effects, color. They made a little animation on the ball to make it squish when it would hit the paddle and the walls and whatnot. So it would make the ball look a little bit bouncier. And had the bricks change color when you hit them, and just a bunch of these tiny little things. And sound effects. Sound effects was a big one. But just all of these tiny, tiny little things that you may not even think about. And all of these things that go into making a game just seem more fun. It's all in the details, man. And sometimes it just feels really arbitrary. But it works. Scroll wheel giving me trouble again. Sorry, that was me, not you. Windows Update is still harassing me because I still haven't updated it. Windows doing its best to get me to do what it wants me to do, but it's not happening. I do not want to reboot my computer. Things have to be breaking way harder than this to make me want to reboot my computer. Guess it might be time for me to consider picking up a new mouse. I certainly use my mouse enough that I don't feel too bad about buying a new one. Things aren't working quite the way that I want them to. Unfortunately, I don't exactly need a fancy one, so this is fine. So speaking of tiny arbitrary things, right now I just noticed that the angle on the very tip of the hair here was a little bit off. So that's why I'm going back in and fixing it up. Trying to get it just right here. Because I do think that this strand in particular is actually pretty important. If it was anywhere else, I would have considered maybe not going quite so hard, but it's right there, right between her eyes, so I definitely want it to be right. I want everything about it to be as close to perfect as I can get it. Okay, that seems pretty alright. Let's go take a look at the other angles here. Okay, I think I need to push it in just a little bit here. Made it poof out just a little bit too hard when I was trying to make it look like a little bit more like we were seeing it from the bottom instead of the top. And it wasn't quite lining up with the top. But I think this is okay. I think I can actually floof this one out a little bit more. So let's make this one extra floofy. Heck yeah. I like making things... Yeah. I like making things extra floofy. My mouth was getting lazy on me there. I didn't want to talk. Just wanted all the words to come out like this. Not effective for communication at all. Gotta wake it up a little bit there. It's funny because when I think about the body parts that I've been working out really hard this past week, like the past 7 days, it'd be my legs, not my mouth. Okay. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. So let's see, which area should I fix next? Guess I should check things diagonally too. Actually, that's a point. Maybe I should just go like this. Let's go from corner to corner. I was actually looking at the hair over here and questioning if I like the way it's moving here. But I think the only thing that would make that what I'm seeing not look quite as weird would be a layer order thing, and that would have been something I would have to plan from the beginning. Because yeah, it is, now that I think about it, a little bit strange that I see this here, which is theoretically further back than this hair kind of between the side bang and that strand. When it's like this, instead of seeing the hair here. But like I said, I think that would have to be like a major layer order thing that I would have had to plan from the beginning. I might be able to do something about it. We'll see if I feel like it. I don't think it looks that bad. I was just noticing it a little bit strongly with the movement down here. Maybe I need to floof out down there a little bit more. You know what? Let's try it. Let's try making things a little bit floofier over here. I don't think I need to be drastic, but I think a little bit, just poofing out right there, might help a little bit. Oh no, that made things much worse. I'm actually just gonna undo all of it. Okay. Yeah, I see that I must have tried. Okay. Because this seems familiar. Maybe I was just putting the floof in the wrong spot. Maybe the floof needs to be over here. Ah, victory. That does look a little bit better. And then I actually think that the other half is another one of those weird arbitrary things, but I think it'll help. And I want to adjust the angle of that highlight. Yeah. If I could make it a little bit thinner, that would be fantastic. But I don't think I can. I'm not even sure how I'd go about trying. Well, let's try one thing and see if it helps. Maybe I can make it thinner right through there. And maybe that will help me achieve the effect that I have in my brain here. Not entirely, but I think it's a little bit better, so I'll keep it. Okay, let's straighten things out here. Just get everything looking nice, and then I can go back to the upper right. It's okay, I get the feeling I'll be jumping around a lot. But I am okay with that. This is the point where I just kinda push everything towards perfection. Oops. There we go. Now I just want this to be just a little bit rounder. Like this strand on the original, very, very round. So I definitely want to match that roundness. Okay, I'm assuming that's gonna look weird over on these angles, huh? Did I not fix it over here yet? Guess not! There's probably lots of things that I haven't fixed. I should probably pay attention to that, because yeah, I see some weirdness here too. Okay. I was probably supposed to fix something at some point and just never did, and somehow I forgot about it. Sounds like something I'd do. Because now that I'm actually looking over here again, I'm like, huh, I don't think that's right. Like right here, like that was a bit of a special movement there. Definitely not floofy enough. This isn't just suboptimal levels of floof, this is like unacceptable. Let's fix it. See, this is why I have the hair shadows off again, because I knew that I'd be moving stuff around a lot. Yeah, this is making things look much better. Just getting that floof out there. Oh yeah. Always makes me happy when I can do stuff like that. Everything is just gonna get so round over here. It's gonna be fantastic. Okay. Not gonna be able to see her eyes at all, but I think that actually kind of suits her. Just see this one. Looking at you vaguely ominously. Okay, that's a little bit too much floof. As always, when on the quest for optimal levels of floof, it means just the right amount, not too much, not too little. Either end of that is bad. For whatever reason, the term Goldilocks planet just popped into my head, so I guess I must be looking for Goldilocks floof. Not too much, not too little, just right. Thinking about meshing for the future again. I think I might have gone a little bit overboard in the number of vertices in the front bang here. There are certain areas that gave me a lot of control that I really appreciate, but there are certain areas like over here where maybe I didn't need this much control. I think that's one of those things that'll come with practice, that you kind of have to develop an intuition for. Because in general, if you're not sure, I think erring on the side of more control is a good thing. It just means that I'll have to deal with situations like this where, yeah, maybe I didn't need this many vertices. And so it's a little bit of a pain to work with. But I do think it being a little bit of a pain to work with is less painful than just not being able to do what I want. Like with some of the stuff over here, for example, where I just can't, I'm not going to be able to properly adjust certain things there because I didn't mesh it well enough. I could remesh it in order to allow for it, but, well, that's a lot of work, and I don't really want to. This project is just for fun, so... I'm gonna do what I want. There's this dark spot on kind of the side of the bangs there. And I'm trying to figure out where it should go. Right now I feel like I'm sending it a little bit too low in this lower turn. So I'm going to try to pull that back up a little bit. And that line is determining where I put much of my floof. And how round I should make things. And I see that I'm also making it a little bit thick. So I want to squish some of these vertices just a little bit closer together. So this is actually a pretty thin line in the original. Well, here we go. I ventured down into another rabbit hole because I just happened to look at the diagonal and was a little bit unsatisfied. Sounds like me. It does. And I'm glad I'm this way. It's fantastic. Can just see something and go on in. No fear. Alright, and I can see that I'm gonna have to adjust a bunch of stuff over here too. That's fine, I can do that. So I guess we're gonna be working on the left side for a little longer. Because I see a lot of issues that I want to fix up here, and... I mean, look, this strand of hair is not even connected to her head right now. Could tell I just was not looking in that direction when I was carefully looking at things before to prepare for everything going on over on the right side. But here we are. Just gonna make her nod. Okay. Right now we're gonna make her nod over here. Well, I just go poke at random things that I notice. See, once again, this is why I don't want to try to make guesses onto how long it'll take me to finish the rest of this. Because every time I try, I just find more stuff and I am wrong. I guess I'll do a little bit more on this particular angle here. Fix up some of the things that I want to fix, and then I'll call that good for today. So I want to try to perfect the angle on this strand and the little highlight coming out of it. I think that's going to be the next big thing here. That's just one of those spots that I feel really adds to the 3D-ness of the hair here, if I get it right. And then there's some parts further up that are just not floofy enough, so I'll have to fix those too. But for now, this strand. This little random strand does so much for the hair, despite its small stature. I am just always very impressed by by what's something so simple is able to do. Can never underestimate these tiny details. They're all just so very important. Every single one of them. Just trying to smooth it out a little bit there. This area is always a little bit hard to smooth. As always, I think about what I could do differently in the mesh, but I'm not actually sure here, because I feel like this one is actually meshed pretty well through this area. I have lots of control over where the strand goes and how it looks. So I feel like it shouldn't be as hard as it is. But here we are. So that'll be something I need to think about. Or, you know, maybe art is just hard, and it's just the way it is. That is also very possible. Let me make sure it's at a good spot before I go any deeper. Am I trying to change an angle? Is that why it's not cooperating so hard? No, not really. It's about the same. Okay. Alright, well, I think I'll finish cleaning up this part here, see if I can get it the way that I want it to be, fix the strand right next to it, and then I'll call it good for today. And tomorrow, more hair. I've finished my little detour for the face for now. I don't want to do more stuff with the eyes until I'm satisfied with the hair. I just feel like that they affect each other a little bit too strongly. And so now that I've gotten the eyes to the point where what's wrong with them is maybe a little bit subtle, I think I just want the hair looking good before I attempt to touch it again. Let them work together. Okay, the very top of this strand is actually angled just a little bit wrong there. Let me take one more look at it there. See how it should be angled. Always a good idea to just take one last look at your reference before you try to draw anything. And that goes for the pseudo-drawing that is rigging as well. Lots of little subtle things that I want to move around in this guy. Another case of, you know, the strand is small, but I feel like it does a lot, so I want to get it in a particular place. I have a vision in my head. I may not know exactly what it looks like, but it's there, and I can recognize when it's wrong. I think this looks pretty good. It's quite close. Quite close indeed. I just gotta fix the spacing of the vertices, really. Easy thing to mess up. Especially when I'm using the brush to push them around so much. Very normal for the spacing to get a little bit off in these circumstances. Okay, before I clean that up, I want to make sure that I have everything in the right place, and then I can worry about getting rid of some of those last few wrinkles. I actually don't think I do. Let me see. See, this is why I said this tiny strand was going to be the last thing I did today. Because I know that there's a surprising amount of complexity with it. There always is. Yeah, I still don't think I do. Another one of those things where I see it very clearly in my mind. I have a particular way that I want this to be. So I just need to find it. Keep making those subtle touches until I do. Oh yeah. Little over-exaggerated there, but yes, this is it. So hopefully it'll be tamed a little bit as I clean it up. Alright, I think that'll be good for today. I see some things that I'm going to want to fix up for tomorrow, but right now I think that strand is doing pretty well, and the little highlight just below it also doing pretty well. Might need to adjust it a little bit, but no, I think it's okay. Alright, well, we'll see what the me of tomorrow thinks. But for today, I think this is where I will end. So, thank you all for coming, and I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I'll see you all tomorrow.